Very good evening, viewers. Assalamu alaikum. Dear students and viewers, today we invited a very special guest to discuss the pros and cons of higher study at Breton University Canada. As IIUC and Breton University has a general memorandum of agreement since 2014, an articulation agreement on credit transfer for BBA and English language literature students of IIUC since 2016. He is the senior international recruiter of Breton University who visited IIUC 3 times and attended seminars and answers queries of our students. Today's program is only for the students of IIUC, hosted by Staff Development and Student Welfare Division of International Islamic University, Chittagong. However, I want to introduce you all with our guest, Mr. Brett MacLean. Welcome to our program. How are you, Mr. Brett?
I'm doing very well, Mahfouz. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us at today's live session, Mr. Brett. Dear viewers, you will get information from our discussion today. At the same time, you may ask any question dropping in comment box. Mr. Brett, most of our students are familiar with your university, and more than 15 students of IIUC have been enrolled at Breton University, transferring credits under the agreement. But huge numbers of new students are not that much introduced with Breton University. So please, Mr. Brett, give a brief features of Breton University for our students.
Sure. So again, thank you very much for having me. We've been very fortunate to have received quite a few students from IIUC over the past few years. And certainly I'd like to take some time now to talk about not just Breton University, but also our location in Canada. So many of you are probably familiar with Canada. You know cities such as Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. But we are a very large country, and there are quite a few different regions, certainly within the country. Breton University is located in the province of Nova Scotia, which is on the far east coast of Canada, on the Atlantic Ocean. To put that into some perspective, we're approximately a 2-hour flight from Toronto, Canada's largest city, or approximately a 2-hour flight from New York City in the United States. We are a smaller province. We are only about 1 million people in total, and there are 2 main cities, the provincial capital being Halifax, and the second city where we're located, Sydney, Nova Scotia, not to be confused with Sydney, Australia. For us, the size of Nova Scotia, I think, is going to be very important when we start discussing other things such as permanent residence. Because we do have a number of attractive options for you. But to discuss more about the university, we are a small, publicly funded government institution in Canada. And that's important to you because when you graduate from a public university, there are a lot of immigration and permanent residence options. As a university, we're only about 6,000 students in total. But we do have over 2,500 international students from 56 different countries. And the reason why this should be important to you, I think, is because when you come to a university in Canada, no matter if you're coming from Bangladesh or if you're a Canadian student starting university, it is going to be a change. It's going to be difficult and your grades are going to go down. This happens to everyone. But the benefit of a smaller university is that you do get to know the faculty and professors on a first name basis. And certainly if you are having difficulty with some subjects, they are available to you to help you, support you, and make sure that you are having a successful experience. The other side of this, though, is the fact that we are a very, very multicultural university. Not only do we have students, of course, from Canada, the United States, and Europe, We have a lot of students coming from the Far East, from China, Vietnam, Philippines. We have students from Africa. And of course, students from the subcontinent, from Bangladesh, India, and Sri Lanka. We are going to take some time on this session today to talk about the very specific programs that we do offer. But we're very strong in business, engineering, as well as health sciences and public health, and postgraduate business programs. So whether you are a student that's looking to do a transfer from IIUC in your second year to come to Canada, or if you are an IIUC graduate and you're looking for a postgraduate option, I will be happy to talk about any questions you have about those options for you today.
Thank you, Mr. Brad, for your nice presentation and brief description about your university, Breton University. Mr. Brad, you know that we are now facing a tough time all over the world for corona pandemic. So, but as we have an articulation agreement with Breton University, with Business Administration Department of International Islamic University, Chittagong, and English Language and Literature of this university. Lots of students are interested to transfer their credits to Breton University. But now nobody is able to travel any country due to COVID situation. So my question is to you, if any student want to transfer credit to Breton University in this situation, that is now, so is it possible?
Yes. So unfortunately, not just Canada and Bangladesh, but certainly the world is facing this unprecedented pandemic. And we are expecting, the same way that tomorrow is Thursday, that we are going to get over this pandemic. At the moment, the Canadian borders are closed to international travel, but they will be open in 2021. We are confident for that. In terms of this September intake, we have been all online. There have been no in-person classes for domestic or international students. But we do have 3 intakes per year, the next one being January 2021. And we are expecting an update at the end of this month or the beginning of October on what's going to happen with those classes. If the classes are in person, students will be able to come in person. If classes are a blend of in-person and online, students will also be able to travel. Unfortunately, if it continues to be all online, students will have to wait. But the transfer option is open. If your students are interested to do a block transfer from the BBA in accounting or English literature, the application is open for January 2021 for another 3 weeks. And they can actually apply to the university free of charge. What this does for students, I think, is that it gets them set up. In the event that they can travel for January, we would strongly encourage them to come to Canada and, of course, follow public health guidelines when they arrive. And this will be all provided to them in further detail. But if students aren't able to travel, say come for January, I would still strongly recommend starting the application, get your block transfer acceptance, and have that offer letter. Because when we give students an offer letter for their transfer program, it's valid for 3 intakes, January, May, and September 2021. What we'll do at Cape Breton University, if a student is accepted for the January intake, if they decide they can't come in January or they want to postpone or wait until another intake, we will hold their spot and guarantee them a place in that program for 1 full year. So I know, unfortunately, we are going through this pandemic, but I don't think that should prevent students from starting an application, getting their acceptance, as well as starting the visa process, so that when we do get over this pandemic, they're ready to travel to Canada and start their classes in person.
Okay, thank you, Brett. Now we have we are getting lots of questions from our viewers, our students. So I have shown one question on the screen. Noor Naharani, she asked you, can you please tell in details about your humanity faculties at English department? Please.
Sure. So we have a 4-year Bachelor of Arts in the Social Sciences where you can major in literature. Given that we are a former British and French colony, the literature department does have a large focus on British and Victorian literature, as well as Irish literature. If you are interested in Shakespeare or poetry, there is 3 faculty members that are focused on the Shakespearean period. And of course, coming from the north of the United States, there also is a large focus on American literature. In terms of other studies, there are individual subjects that look at African and Black literature, as well as from the far east in China. In terms of the subcontinent, looking at, say, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, the English department doesn't necessarily focus too much on that area. But certainly, if you are looking to study British or North American, European English literature, this would be certainly a part of that.
Okay. I have taken another question from Mr. Rabiul Islam. He told, Assalamu alaikum, please explain in details about the requirements for transferring.
Sure. So, great question. So, there are 2 options for a credit transfer. The first one I want to talk about is the agreement that we have with IIUC. This is called a block transfer, and this is automatic for 2 specific departments: the BBA in accounting, as well as the Bachelor of Arts in English Literature. A number of years ago, our dean and actual faculty reviewed the IIUC curriculum, and we have agreed that year 1 and year 2 at IIUC in these programs, if you decide you want to come to Canada for year 3, it's an automatic transfer. There is no transfer credit review assessment needed because this has been already done. So the good news is, if you're in a BBA at IIUC or you're in the Faculty of Humanities, the process to transfer to Cape Breton University in Canada is very, very simple and very quick because it's already been assessed. The second option is what's called a transfer credit assessment. And this would be for students outside of, say, the accountancy program or students from outside of the Arts and Social Sciences department. And let me give you an example. Say you're someone that's studying a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, or maybe you're someone that's studying a Bachelor of Business in Finance, and you want to transfer to Cape Breton University in Canada. We absolutely can still consider a transfer of credit review and transfer of your credits. The only thing is, because this is a different department outside of the 2 programs that have already been reviewed, we would need you to send us a scanned copy of your transcripts, and then we would have to do a review of those individually. This is different for the accountancy and language department, because while the accountancy and language department have to send us a copy of their transcripts, we only have to look and make sure that they've passed. If you want to transfer from, say, a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, we would need you to send us a copy of those transcripts, but also a description of each program. And it usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks. The way that a program transfer of credit works is that the maximum amount of credit we can give you is for 50% of the program. So if you're applying for a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry credit transfer, the most we can give you is 2 years. And the reason for that is because we are a 4-year program. And in order for us to give you a Cape Breton University qualification, you must complete at least 50% of the program. And for some programs, you may only get 1 year transfer credit. Other programs, it may be 2. But for those of you that are studying at IIUC in accountancy or in the language department, we guarantee you a 2-year full credit transfer automatically.
Thank you, Mr. Brett, for your nice answer. Now, I want to ask you another question. We have an articulation agreement and MOA with between two universities. So there are some offers for IIUC students. So would you please tell us about the special offers for IIUC students for admission?
Sure. So there normally is a $100 application fee that students must pay, as well as a $52 transfer fee that they must pay. For any students coming from IIUC, these fees will be waived. On top of that, we will give students that are applying for the transfer for accountancy or the language department priority processing, and we will have that processed within less than 2 weeks for the block transfer. In terms of other opportunities for scholarship, we do normally have bursaries for our IIUC students, but this is dependent upon your grades. You will get the block transfer, but what we can also do for IIUC students is that we can look at giving students that have usually above an 80% a bursary for upwards of 2,500 Canadian dollars. This is something that, again, would be on a per individual basis after you've been accepted and after you've accepted your offer letter to come to Cape Breton University. But I think with the application fee waiver, as well as potential bursary opportunities, this is a special arrangement we do have for your students because we are very, very keen to have more IIUC students join us for 2021.
Thank you. Mr. Brett, you know that we have articulation agreement on BBA and English language and literature especially, but some students from science faculties, especially from CSC, pharmacy, they are asking lots of questions. If I conclude or if I just give a short question based on their questions, our students' question, can students of other than BBA and ELL of our university, IIUC, apply for career to CBU? What is the procedure?
Sure. No, so that's a great question. And unfortunately, I don't have a clear answer yet. And I'll tell you why. The reason we have a clear transfer for accountancy and the language department is because a number of years ago, we took a full list of the IIUC curriculum and we evaluated what subjects transfer from IIUC to Cape Breton University. And this was not a short process. It involved the dean and a number of faculty members to identify where our programs line up. If, for example, you are a student from IIUC and you want to transfer to us from, say, a science department, we absolutely can look at your transcripts and evaluate what subjects may transfer and which ones may not. The good news is chemistry in Bangladesh is same as chemistry in Canada. Those principles do not change. 1 + 1 in Canada is 2. 1 + 1 in Bangladesh is 2. So while I don't have a clear answer yet, what I would strongly recommend is that if you are a science student and you would like to transfer to Canada or to Cape Breton University, please send us a copy of your transcripts, but also similar to what the accountancy department did, send us a copy of the course descriptions, and Mafus and I can certainly begin to look at how we can set up a possible block transfer, not just for accountancy and language students, but also science students as well. And while it may not be ready for, say, January, we should be able to get this done for the May 2021 intake.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm taking another question from viewers. Habib Hassan Rifaz, he asked you a question. Would you tell about payment details regarding department-wise credit transfer process, please?
Would you tell payment details regarding department credit transfer process, please? So I'm not quite sure what Habib means by that. Do you mean in terms of the application fee and the credit of transfer fee, or do you mean the cost of the program?
Okay, you can answer the general procedure of the payment system.
Sure.
I think they're asking what is the payment
Sure.
procedure. That means application fee, other thing, the assessment fee, and the total fee. You can tell it details, then a student will get answer.
Sure. So again, in terms of the credit assessment transfer fee and the application fee, it is free of charge. So any student from IIUC that would like to see if they're going to be accepted to Cape Breton University and if their program credits will transfer, it will cost them no money. We will do this all free of charge because of our agreement. If a student is accepted to the program and they decide that they do want to come to Cape Breton University, there are some next steps that would be required. For example, once you've been accepted to Cape Breton University, you will have to apply for your study permit at the Canadian Embassy in Singapore. One of the requirements for actually getting the study permit approved by the Canadian Embassy is to show that you have financial capacity to support yourself in Canada while you're here. And there are a number of different ways you can show the embassy you're financially able to support yourself. But the main one is to provide a tuition deposit. The tuition deposit that we strongly recommend would be 1 full year of tuition. That would be 2 semesters, which is approximately 17,000 Canadian dollars or about 12,000 American dollars. What we'll do is that we're partnered with a Canadian bank. You would pay the tuition for 1 year at Cape Breton University, and we would then send you a tuition receipt, which you can then attach with your study permit application to show the Canadian Embassy that you've paid for the first year and that when you arrive, you have no other bills other than your cost of living. If you are interested in doing this, certainly Mafus and I can connect you either with someone at IIUC that can help you with the study permit application or one of our partners in Chittagong. I hope that's clear. I know the next question is the total fee. The entire cost for the tuition for 1 year is 18,000 Canadian dollars, which is approximately 12,000 American dollars. Given that this is a 2-year program, you would have to pay in total 24,000 American dollars over 2 years for the tuition. This is often paid in installments. You do not have to pay the entire fund upfront. However, in order to get the study permit, we strongly recommend that you pay the first year tuition upfront, and then in year 2, you can pay the remaining 12,000 American dollars in 2 installments. Please note that this does not cover your cost of living or your apartment. And generally what we tell students and parents is that for 1 year living in Nova Scotia, outside of your tuition, is approximately 10,000 Canadian dollars or about 7,000 to 8,000 American dollars. And that would include your apartment, your food, books, fees, and cost of living. So if you are looking to plan a budget, you should realistically plan for 12,000 American dollars for your tuition, plus an additional 8,000 American dollars for your cost of living, making 1 full year approximately 20,000 American dollars or about 28,000 Canadian dollars.
Thank you, Mr. Brad, for your nice answer. Now you have got another question from students, Sadia Choudhury. What is the required Cgpa for credit transfer?
Excellent question, Sadia. So for the IIUC credit transfer in accountancy, as well as the English department, the required GPA is a pass. We just simply look and see that you've passed all of your subjects. However, for non-block transfer agreements, say for example, in a science department or another department, what we would look for is a minimum of a B average or approximately a 2.65 out of 4 GPA. So if you're coming from the accountancy department or language school, we just look to make sure that you have all of your subjects passed. For a block transfer, or sorry, a non-block transfer, it would be 2.65 out of 4.
Okay, another question from our student. Sir, can you tell me about the cost of a year in BBA and CBU?
Sure. So the cost of the BBA, whether it's an accountancy, finance, human resource management, it's all the same. And it would be 18,000 Canadian dollars for one academic year. That would be for 2 full semesters. And that would be the same for all of our programs in that school. So you're looking at about 18,000 Canadian or approximately 12,000 American dollars.
Okay, so I have taken another question from a viewer, Shu Proba. She asked you, do you support any scholarship programs?
Sure. So we do have scholarship programs available for our international students. They certainly aren't as high as, say, schools in the United States, Australia, or the United Kingdom, given that our tuition price is very, very competitive and very affordable compared to those schools. Don't get me wrong. I mean, 12,000 American dollars for 1 year, this is not cheap. This is a lot of money. But I think if you look at schools in the US that are charging $40,000 or $50,000 or, you know, 25,000, 30,000 pounds in the UK, this is very competitive. Considering that, because our tuition price is lower, so are our scholarships and bursaries. What we would typically give to our IIUC students, if you decide you want to come to CBU, it wouldn't be a scholarship for your first year, it would be a bursary. And the difference between a bursary and a scholarship is that a bursary is a one-time amount, whereas a scholarship, you can continue this over multiple years. So let me give you an example. If you decide that you want to transfer, say, from the BBA program to Cape Breton University, and you are just passing your grades, you're not a great student, but you've passed, you have maybe a C average or maybe a 70%. We will accept you, but unfortunately, there wouldn't be any financial support or financial bursaries. Considering that, if you're a student from IIUC who has excellent grades, you know, you're in the top of your class, you're coming with maybe an A average or a 3.5 out of 4 GPA. This is something that we want to reward you with. And while it's not a huge amount, we could provide upwards of about 2,500 Canadian dollars. Now, that would be for your first year. If you do well in your first year or your first semester at Cape Breton University, you've proven yourself that your academics are strong, this is when we can start looking at larger scholarships that are available. And these scholarships wouldn't just be a one-time thing. They would be for your second year as well. And these scholarships range from 500 Canadian dollars up to about 5,000 Canadian dollars. So what you will notice about these scholarships and bursaries is that they're not, unfortunately, designed to cover all of the costs. They would only cover a portion of your tuition. But of course, I think every little bit does count. And we do base these scholarships and bursaries on only one thing, and that is your academics. If you are coming with good grades, this is what's going to make the difference.
Okay, I think the students, the viewers who have asked about these things, especially scholarship, there are lots of questions on scholarship, full funded or partial scholarship. I think they have got their answer already from Mr. Brett. Thank you. Mr. Brett, now I want to ask you one question, very relevant. Students from Bangladesh or IIUC, they are interested to transfer their careers to Cape Breton University. And they are asking about scholarships, partial scholarship, full funded scholarships. But please, can you give us idea about, is there any scope of earning to manage educational fees from part-time job?
Sure. So this is a very, very common question that we get. And the answer is yes, but I need to provide some context to this. So when students do come to Canada on an international study permit, that study permit is also a work permit. Students are allowed to work part-time while they study, of 20 hours per week. However, during scheduled breaks like Christmas, Easter, or the summer holidays, which are for 4 months, students are allowed to work full-time. The minimum wage in Nova Scotia is 12 Canadian dollars an hour. And this is a great opportunity, I think, for students to become a part of the community, certainly to make some extra cash to, help pay for their rent or maybe the travel of different parts of Canada. But there are a couple of things that I really, really need to stress. The first one is, in order to work part-time in Canada while you're here on a student permit, you must be registered in at least 3 subjects from September until April, and you are not able to work part-time if you take a semester off. So for example, you decide to come to Cape Breton University in January of 2021. You work part-time from January until April, and then for the summer break, May, June, July, and August, you work 50 hours a week or 40 hours a week. You've really settled into your job well, and you think, do you know what? I'm actually not going to take my studies in September 2021. I'm going to take this semester off, and I'm going to continue to work. Unfortunately, this is not possible. The only way that you can work is that if you're registered for at least 3 subjects between September and April, and you are not taking any other breaks other than that. The other thing I also want to stress is that this is a study permit that you're coming to Canada on. Your main focus is for university. And while there are a lot of permanent residence options after graduation, there are a lot of postgraduate work permit opportunities after you graduate. While you're on your study permit, your prime motivation is to study. Now, considering that, most of our international students do work part-time. I don't have the exact figure, but I would say probably 85 to 90%. And they're working regular jobs that Canadian students also work. Nothing glamorous, bars, restaurants, shops, cafes, the malls, things like this. And this is, like I said, is a great way to make some extra money. However, when you're making your study permit to the Canadian Embassy in Singapore, you must show that you can support yourself financially without having to work. The part-time job is meant as a way for you to make extra cash or, again, to become a part of the community. It is not meant as a means to support yourself, because if you're not able to find a part-time job, the Canadian government wants to know that you can still support yourself financially. So please do consider the part-time job. It's a great way to, again, become accustomed to Canada, different cultural experiences, but you do have to be able to support yourself without having to work if you can't find a part-time job right away. I hope that answers that question.
So, Mr. Brett, a number of students and viewers have joined with you, and lots of questions I'm getting. So I'm just choosing some questions for you. And our lots of viewers, our students are asking about master's program in Breton universities, say Masters of Economics, Masters of Law, Masters of Science, this. So please, would you kindly give us idea about the master's program of Breton University?
Sure. So we offer only one master's program in Canada, online or in person. We have 3 master's programs in total, but 2 of them are online. So if you are interested in coming to Cape Breton University to study in person for a master's degree, the master's program that we offer in person is a Master's of Business Administration in Community Economic Development. This is a 2-year program whereby you would take approximately 15 subjects over 2 years, and then you would do what's called your final research project. This program has a lot of international students as well as Canadian students in it. But there are a few requirements that you must have, and certainly the Gmat exam is required. For those of you not familiar with the Gmat exam, this is the Graduate Management Assessment Test. It is an external exam that you can write in Chittagong or in Dhaka, whereby it tests your skill with numbers, logic, and reason. I'll be honest, when students do have to write the Gmat exam or they know this is a requirement, many of them do not want to do this. And it's not because the Gmat exam is necessarily that difficult. It's just that the way they ask the questions can be very tricky. And a lot of students will take 3 to 6 months to prepare for this exam. Considering that, if you do want to apply to Cape Breton University for our MBA, this is a program that costs approximately 40,000 Canadian dollars, that's 40, and you will need an Ielts score of 6.5, no band less than 6. You'll need 3 letters of recommendation from either a faculty member or a professor from your undergraduate degree. You would need a minimum of 2.65 out of 4 GPA in your undergraduate degree. But you can come from any background. You don't just have to come from a business undergrad. You can come from School of Arts and Social Sciences, from an engineering department, as well as business. As well as we're going to need a 500-word statement of purpose as to why you want to do an MBA. If you're someone that transfers to Cape Breton University for an undergraduate degree, say, for example, in the BBA in accountancy, if you're maintaining a 2.65 out of 4 GPA when you graduate, and you decide after you've done our undergrad BBA, you can come into our MBA program without doing the Gmat. So for those students that come to us first for the BBA and do well and decide to pursue an MBA, they do not have to do the Gmat exam. Now, for those of you that would also like to do a postgraduate program with us, we have 4 post-baccalaureate business programs, which are a little bit less than an MBA, but higher than an undergraduate degree. And these programs do not require a Gmat exam and are also significantly less in price. These post-baccalaureate business programs are only 27,000 Canadian dollars for the entire 2-year program, and students can focus on supply chain management, business management, business and data analytics, or public health management. And these 2-year postgraduate business programs would be 3 semesters in class, with the final semester is either a work term or a research project. So I know a lot of students are interested in doing a master's. We have only 1 master's program, that is the MBA, but we also have 4 postgraduate business programs that are a little bit better in price, as well as having good opportunities for the postgraduate work permit after they graduate.
Okay, I think the viewers, the students who have asked the questions about master's program, they have got a good idea about master's programs, especially MBA program. So, Mr. Brett, you are seeing one question on the screen. Is there any necessities of IELTS for transferring credit?
Yes. So I know that students at IIUC, you study in the medium of English, but when making the visa permit application, students should have an IELTS score of 6.5, no band less than 6. What we're looking to do is we're looking to set you up for the best possible way of success. One of the ways that we want to do this is ensure that not only you get accepted to Cape Breton University, but that you also get the study permit. And for our students that are applying for the transfer credit or they're applying for a postgraduate program, we do recommend they have an IELTS score of 6.5, no band less than 6.
Okay. Dear viewers, you can ask questions, dropping your questions in comment box. We will propose the questions to the honorable guest, Mr. Brett. Mr. Brett, now I want to ask you another question. You see, suppose a student from IIUC has transferred credit to the Breton University and then completed graduation from your university. And is there any possibility, or are they entitled for applying for PR in Canada? Applying for PR
Sure.
in Canada?
Well, that's a very good question. And I'll be very honest, whether it's students from Bangladesh or whether it's students, from France. We know that a lot of our students' motivation for coming to Canada to study is for immigration opportunities after they graduate. Depending on where you study in Canada, there's going to be very, very different permanent residence opportunities after you graduate. I want to clarify, I am not an immigration consultant. I am not trained or qualified to give official legal advice on this. But I can tell you what many of our international students have done and what immigration streams there are in Nova Scotia. So let me kind of first start off by telling you about where a lot of students go. Most newcomers to Canada, approximately 80%, go to three main cities: Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Canada is a very large country, and the federal government of Canada, or the national government, is really trying to spread those numbers out so that other parts of Canada, like Nova Scotia, which is a smaller province, can attract more students to come there instead of Toronto. If you decide that you want to study in Toronto and graduate, your permanent residence options are going to be much, much longer than if you study in Nova Scotia. And for example, when you graduate from Breton University with a program of study for at least 2 years, if you study with us for at least 2 years, when you graduate, you'll be entitled to apply for a 3-year postgraduate work permit, okay? The postgraduate work permit allows you to stay in Canada for 3 years and work anywhere that you want. When those 3 years are up, that's the end of your postgraduate work permit. However, what a lot of students will do is that during that 3-year period, particularly in Nova Scotia, they're able to apply for permanent residence within 6 months. In provinces or cities like Toronto, Vancouver, this process often takes 3 to 5 years. But because Nova Scotia has some special immigration opportunities through the Atlantic immigration stream, through the study and stay program, through the provincial nominee program, or the express entry program, if you decide to study in Nova Scotia and stay in Nova Scotia, within 6 months of you graduating from Breton University, there are opportunities for you to get permanent residence within 6 months. I do want to stress that the university and the immigration opportunities are two separate things. While we are a public university, the immigration side that comes after you graduate is then now under the Department of Immigration and Citizenship. One thing I am happy to tell you is that many of our IIUC students that have graduated have now gotten permanent residence in Canada. A lot of them are working in the banking and the finance industry. And I know that Mafus is going to be planning a section next week or in the coming weeks with Breton University and IIUC graduates who can tell you their firsthand experience about coming to Breton University, graduating, getting a postgraduate work permit, and then getting permanent residence. So I would stress, if your motivation to coming to Canada is based on immigration and getting permanent residence, there are a lot of opportunities in Nova Scotia after you graduate.
Okay, Mr. Brett, already you know that I have visited your Nova Scotia. This is a really splendid city and port city as well, like Chittagong. So our students or any Bangladeshi student would like your Nova Scotia. So, Mr. Brett, I want to ask you another question about lots of students are coming from our students. How much a student may require for study and living yearly at CBU? please.
Can you turn that off, Liana? Sorry, can you repeat that, Mahfouz?
Oh, how much a student may require for study and living yearly at CB?
So
Study and living, total 1 year.
1 year cost. So the total 1 year costs for studying at Cape Breton University and living in Nova Scotia, it would be approximately 20,000 American dollars or 28,000 Canadian dollars. We generally tell students that tuition is going to be 18,000 Canadian dollars for 1 year, and that another 10,000 Canadian dollars is going to be their cost of living. The Canadian dollar at the moment is quite weak, which is quite good for Bangladeshi students that are transferring over to the Tadka. So if you are looking to study with us, be prepared to spend approximately 20,000 American dollars for 1 year or 28,000 Canadian dollars.
Okay, Brett. So some students are asking about the cost of 1 year cost of computer science, pharmacy, and subjects of science faculties. Okay, 1 year cost and total cost of the discipline of science faculties.
Sure. So the good news is whether you're studying English literature or you're studying a Bachelor of Engineering, the cost of our programs are all the same, give or take $500 or $600. The programs that have a lab component or where students are required to go to the laboratory are generally a little bit more expensive, but not by much. So a 1 year program in engineering or a 1 year program in business, it's going to be approximately 18,000 Canadian dollars. I do want to stress, we unfortunately do not have a computer science program or anything IT related. We do have a Bachelor of Computer Engineering, but we don't have computer science or IT. For those students interested in law, pharmacy, or medicine, they would have to do a Bachelor of Science first, which would be approximately 3 years, and then apply for a separate pharmacy or medical program. But unfortunately, computer science and IT, it's not something that we offer. Oh, wow, it's getting very windy here now.
Okay, thank you. Another students are asking about scholarship. We have already answered about scholarship, but Nahid Shahriar, how to get a Fulbright scholarship opportunity? If you please answer again.
Sure.
To guide the student.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of the Fulbright,
how to get a Fulbright?
The Fulbright scholarship is specifically an American scholarship. So students that are looking to have a Fulbright scholarship, you would have to look at applying to an American university. But for our scholarships in general, for the first year students that are coming to Cape Breton University, or those transfer students, they would simply need to make a scholarship application on the website after they've been accepted. So when students are accepted, in their acceptance package and in their information package, there's going to be links and details of how to make those scholarship applications. But again, it's not going to be a significant amount of money for at least the first year, upwards of 2,500 Canadian dollars. But again, they would have to be accepted to the program first, and it would always be based on their academic grades. The higher your grades, the better.
Okay, Mr. Brett, there's some question about PhD program. Really, do you have any PhD program in Cape Breton University?
So unfortunately, because we are a smaller university, a smaller government university, the highest accreditation that we go up to is a master's program. So if you are looking to do a PhD, we unfortunately would not have any PhD opportunities at our university.
Thank you, Mr. Brett. There are another question from Sadia Chaudhary. How much study gap is acceptable for a student who completed Bachelor in Poli and want to do any master's program you offer?
So for us, we don't look at any study gap. It's not important to us. You can be, 18 years old, or you can be 80 years old. As long as you have the academic grades, we are happy to accept you. Outside of that, though, the reality is when you apply for the study permit, the Canadian Embassy is going to expect you to write a study plan of why you want to study in Canada, and specifically at Cape Breton University. If you have a study gap, of a couple of years, 2-3 years, this generally isn't a problem. But if you're someone that has 10, 15 years of study gap, when you're applying for your study permit at the Canadian Embassy in Singapore, you should explain what you've been doing for that period of time. In most cases, students will be working, and simply explain that, you've been working in your field, and that now that you have had some experience in the workforce, you're looking to get a higher qualification, and that the Canadian school that you choose, hopefully Cape Breton University, is the school that you want to go to for whatever reasons. But the study gap isn't something that we care about. But when you are applying for the study permit, please be prepared to explain why you have that gap and what you've been doing.
Okay. Another question from Jahidul Islam Shimul. Sir, I am now first year in English department. If I apply in your university, then have any requirement HSC or IELTS?
Yeah. So if you're a first-year student at IIUC and you would like to transfer to Cape Breton University, we are going to ask for your HSC results, and we're also going to ask for your transcripts of Year 1 university, and essentially all the grades and subjects that you've taken. So that's the first part, your HSC transcripts plus your first year of university transcripts. Well, yes, we're also going to ask that you have an IELTS score of 6.5, no band less than 6. And that's it. There's no statement of purpose. There's no other requirements. Again, if you're coming from a department that is not accountancy or the business school or the language school that we have an articulation agreement with, we will also ask that you send over the course descriptions of your program.
Okay. Another question from Hujjatullah. Mr. Brett, we are about the end of the program. We are taking some question and we will finish the program. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, another question from Hujjatullah. But I already completed my B Pharm. So in that case, should I again study Bachelor Science to get admission in M Pharm?
So for us, we unfortunately don't have a Master's of Pharmacy or any type of pharmacy program. If you are interested in studying pharmacy in Canada, generally they will, it is a competitive program to get into, but if you do want to study pharmacy in Canada, you really should be looking to do a Bachelor of Science first, or a pre-chemistry, or sorry, a pre-pharmacy program like that in Canada. But I can't really answer much about that because we don't offer a pharmacy or a Master's of Pharmacy program.
Thank you. Another student, Rani Hussain, he is just greeting you. Thank you so much, Mr. Brad MacLean. It is very helpful for us. Lots of students are greeting you, thanking you. So they're very happy to get here today. So we have some other questions. Okay. Other students, Sadia Chaudhary is asking about, is there any requirement of IELTS for master's program?
Yeah.
So you please tell again about MBA, IELTS, Gmat, DRE, these
sure.
Things. Okay.
Yeah.
And cost of MBA also, please.
So for every Canadian public university, students should expect that require a 6.5 on IELTS, no band less than 6. If you are interested in studying at a university in Canada, Having an IELTS score not only demonstrates your capacity to write, read, and comprehend in English, but it also shows that you are committed to studying in Canada. Whether it's because you have to formally make an appointment at an IELTS center and then prepare for it, but it also is just going to show your capacity in English, but also demonstrate to the Canadian Embassy when you apply for a study permit that you are a legitimate student. The last thing I want to see a student do is make the application to the university, get accepted, and then apply for the study permit and be denied because the embassy doesn't think they're a legitimate student. Doing the IELTS exam is not just about showing your capacity, but it's also demonstrating to the Canadian government that you're taking this seriously and that you are really coming to Canada to study and not just get a part-time job.
Thank you, Brett. Our Professor Dr. Manjur Islam, former Dean of Faculty of Science and Engineering of International Islamic University, he has visited you. Nice to see you, Mr. Brett, after a long time. Last time you visited IIUC, he met you, really. Professor Manjur Islam, thank you.
Hi, Professor Islam. Very nice to hear from you.
Okay. Steve, thank you so much, sir. Another student.
No, I mean,
thank
you very much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that amazing advice. Okay.
Yeah, so I really appreciate the opportunity to reach out and connect with your students. It's been unfortunate that I've not been able to come to Bangalore the last year or so. It's always a pleasure coming down to Chittagong. The students and the faculty, especially yourself, Mahfouz, you've always been extremely receptive. The IIUC students that have joined us and graduated from Cape Breton University have been wonderful students, both academically and personally. I really appreciate all the students taking the time to listen to me and ask such thoughtful questions for the past hour. I know it is getting late in Chittagong, but I hope to be there in 2021 once we get over this pandemic. And if any of your students are interested to join us, we would love to have them.
So now, our student of Cape Breton University who has completed graduation from your university, he's studying now Germany. Happy to see Mahfouz sir and Mr. Brett together. It will pave the way for IUC and to pursue higher studies from abroad. So I think, dear viewers, we can finish the program within 1 minute, I think. Lots of questions have answered by our dear guest, honorable guest, Mr. Brett MacLean, and our students have got their answers. So, dear viewers, dear students of IIUC, in this pandemic situation, Corona pandemic, we have organized this program from Staff Development Student Welfare Division, International Islamic University, Chittagong. I promise you, I assure you that we will organize such kind of program if the pandemic situation is will be continued for more times, more months. But if the situation becomes normal, I think Mr. Brett will visit Bangladesh, especially the Chittagong, our university. So till that time, please be safe, stay home, stay safe. Thanks to everybody, especially thanks to Mr. Brett for giving us time today and answering lots of questions, Mr. Brett MacLean. So hope that we will meet in another program in another time, and you will answer lots of questions of our students. And dear students and dear viewers, you are requested to contact our office at our university, International Islamic University Chittagong. This is for an information that IIUC is the only university which has signed articulation agreement with Cape Breton University Canada, and already more than 15 students have joined to Cape Breton University. So you're welcome to our office, and if you want to get an answer from Mr. Brett, if you contact me. I will arrange to give any answer for the question. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Brett. Okay. Good night. Good day, Mr. Brett. Thank you.
Have a
Thank you,
good night.
everybody.